All right, chemistry students, I'm going to go over some of the examples from the worksheet called Types of Chemical Bonds. The directions on this say, using your periodic table, classify the following compounds as one of the following. Either it's number 1, ionic, which means that it's a metal combined with a nonmetal, or number 2, it's covalent, which means that there are two nonmetals that are combined together. And it says here to be using your periodic table, so you're going to need your periodic table handy in order to do this. So example number 1, we have calcium combined with chlorine, and you're given the answer here already that calcium is a metal and chlorine is a nonmetal, so that is an ionic bond. Okay, so let's take a look at that on the periodic table. So remember, the periodic table is divided between metals and nonmetals right here on this, remember the stepped line, that is the elements that we call metalloids or semimetals. They have characteristics of both metals and nonmetals. So to the right of this line that I'm making here on the periodic table, to the right, these are your nonmetals. There are not very many of them, basically from group 17 to group 14, and then at this angle right here. So you can just, for the nonmetals, you can just look up in the upper right hand corner. For the metals, you have everything to the left of the metalloids, okay, from group 1 all the way over here to group 13, aluminum. Okay, so all the elements in the middle, the transition metals. Most of the metals that you find you're going to find in group numbers 1 and 2. So you can look there a lot of times and find your metal pretty easily. The only exception is the number 1, atomic number 1, which is hydrogen, which actually is a nonmetal, has characteristics of a nonmetal, but it's put over here because of its electron configuration. So calcium, the first example, was right here, a metal in group 2, and chlorine is a group 17 element, a nonmetal, so that was an ionic bond, and that's what we see here, your answer for number 1. Okay, right there, ionic bond. The next one is carbon and oxygen combined together to form carbon dioxide. So carbon, if you look at the periodic table, remember I said groups 1 and 2 have a lot of the metals that are used in ionic bonds, and there it is. Calcium, wait a minute, no, it was carbon, I'm sorry. Carbon way over here, so that actually is not a metal, that's a nonmetal. Okay, carbon is a nonmetal, and oxygen right next door is another nonmetal. So let's take a look at the question here. Carbon, and I guess we're just going to stick with our symbols. Carbon is a nonmetal, and I'll abbreviate that NM, and you can do that too. Carbon is a nonmetal, and oxygen is also a nonmetal. Both of them found on the right-hand side of the chart, and because they're both nonmetals, we say that is a covalent compound. Number 3, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, so here we have the example I was just referring to a little bit ago, and that hydrogen is found in group 1, but it's actually a nonmetal found on the right-hand side of the chart because of its electron configuration. It's over there, but it's a nonmetal. Okay, hydrogen and oxygen is also a nonmetal. So you have two nonmetals. Hydrogen is a nonmetal, abbreviate NM. Oxygen is a nonmetal, abbreviate NN, and that means it is covalent again. Okay, the next one is potassium oxide. Potassium is K, oxygen is O. So let's take a look at those. And again, remember with the first element, potassium, hopefully by now you're getting used to some of these, but potassium, hopefully you're getting used to where these are on the periodic table. You definitely will get more used to it as we use the periodic table quite a bit in the coming weeks. But potassium is right here. That is a metal found in group 1. And we've done oxygen many times already. And that is a nonmetal found in group 16. So potassium is metal. And oxygen is a nonmetal. But metal with nonmetal is ionic. Okay. Let's drop down and take a look at number 13. Okay, question number 13. I want to show you that one because that's an example where you have iron combining with chlorine. And remember I said with a lot of the metals, you find them in groups 1 and 2. Okay, a lot of common ionic compounds, the metals are from group 1 and 2, but you'll notice for this one here, iron is actually one of the transition metals found here in the middle. That's where the transition metals are, and it's found here, number 26. It's still a metal, it's just a transition metal, and sometimes you have to look in the middle for your metals. Okay, so iron, and I'm looking at number 13 here again. Iron is a metal, and chlorine, we've done chlorine up on the top here, question number 1. Remember that's a nonmetal. And a metal combined with a nonmetal is ionic. Okay, so there you go. There you go. You've got some examples. You have looks like 10 left to do. Good luck on these. If you have questions, feel free to email your chemistry teacher. Get in a Google Meet, and good luck on this.